want to relate a true story to you that happened to me personally. This story proves beyond a reasonable doubt that not only can experts be wrong and the majority can be wrong, but it also showcases the fact that wrong thinking can begin because of insufficient evidence when experts think they have all the evidence. This story is called The Battery and Concrete. Growing up on a large farm with lots of equipment to work on, we all learned never to put a car battery on concrete. We also were taught this in our agricultural classes in high school. And also when I majored in automotive technology, we were also taught this same thing. Some of the best professors in automotive technology taught you never put a car battery on concrete. No one dared to question this behavior. Why, you might ask? Because when everyone seems to believe it, and when it seems like all the experts believe it, you don't dare question it, or you will be made fun of and you might be considered a quack. You don't question the experts or majority. Finally, by the 21st century, people started to question it, and now we know that the whole basis for believing such an unscientific practice was without any kind of science behind it. People also used to believe that if a bodybuilder quit lifting weights, his muscles would turn to fat. But all good biologists know that muscle cells cannot turn into fat cells any more than a monkey can turn into a human being. That is what you call fake science or science fiction. The majority in Nazi Germany believed it was okay to murder Jews and black people because according to the evolutionist doctors, certain kinds of people were biologically inferior. So in conclusion, what I'm about to show you is once again that there are some scientists that believe in the philosophy of evolution are also wrong in spreading lies about the age of the earth and how so-called uniformitarianism shaped our planet. You see, if the earth is young, then it had to be created. So how did this idea get started anyway? Because when car batteries were first invented, someone put a car battery on concrete after removing that battery from the car. The battery sat on the concrete for a few days, and the car owner or car mechanic, whichever version of the story you believe, put the battery back in the car and noticed the battery was dead. The engine would not crank. That is how this whole misunderstanding got started. Back then, battery cases were made out of rubber, so the electrolyte or battery acid, which is a mixture of water and sulfuric acid, leaked out of the battery, discharging the battery. So the point is, it would not have mattered where you would have put that battery. It would have discharged anyway with enough time. So, there is the rest of the story. The teaching of evolution in long ages is also unscientific and is taught without question. But this is even worse. You are not allowed to question the religion of evolution when it is taught in a science class. They put up walls of protection for their fragile religion, exercising extreme caution so their beloved philosophy does not get shattered by scientific examination. Then we have J. Harlan Bretz, who with the help of another geologist proposed an outrageous idea that much of the Columbia Basin was eroded out catastrophically by a series of local floods they first called the Spokane Floods and the Bretz Floods. They proposed that these floods began 15,000 years ago from a giant lake the size of two Great Lakes in Michigan, dammed up on Lake Pend Oreille, blocking the Clark Fork River in northern Idaho. Bretz was greatly criticized and shunned by his contemporary secular geologists in a day when there was a lot of peer pressure forcing people to only consider uniformitarianism as the only accepted view of the geology of Earth history. Bretz battled his contemporary secular geologists for nearly 40 years before he finally won the war against uniformitarianism. The secular geologists of his time were fearful and intimidated of the Missoula flood theory because, in their own words, it sounded too much like Noah's flood. This proved that there is even politics and biases among scientists that subscribe to evolution or uniformitarianism. As we investigate the upper and lower Columbia Basin in eastern Washington, we are actually observing two catastrophes of Earth history: the basalt flows, petrified trees, leaf fossils, and animal fossils that represent animals that are not from around here, which gives us evidence that the climate was more uniform around the globe than it is now. and the fact that canyons are not created by rivers, but only by floods. Those things represent a universal flood that is self-evident by studying the facts of geology. The second observation is a catastrophe called the Missoula Flood, caused by a universal flood caused by the Ice Age. This is another example where the majority of scientists were wrong. When I was a kid, one of my older brothers had an amazing rock and fossil collection that inspired me to research God's amazing creation. Looking at all those rocks and fossils, I knew deep down inside in the recesses of my brain that there was much more to the story of these rocks than what's on the surface. I knew that there was more than outward beauty to these rocks. I knew that there was more than just some dry, mundane scientific explanation as to why they were there. I knew that there was also a philosophical explanation. I knew that there were some life applications behind these rocks that you find all over the world. Teaching any discipline without biblical application is like eating meat without salt. It has no flavor. Adding God's Word fills in all the blanks and gives scientific meaning and fiber. Otherwise, it is just dry, boring, mundane, and redundant. There is real inspiring significance how we as a people fit into the historical meaning of the geology around us. In this video, I hope to showcase God's amazing planet with amazing geologic history that makes life worth living and exciting. Hi, my name is Mark Finkbeiner, and now I'm all grown up, but still a kid at heart. I want you to see what I am all excited about. I want you to see what I see in Washington State and outlying areas of Washington. I hope that you will join me and see how awesome Washington's geology really is. This was formed by an underwater tornado in the Missoula Flood that came through here. Imagine the power that it had to have. The swirling. Doesn't it just make you want to just sit here for the rest of the day? Yeah.
At least the wife, she's